Hi, this is Dan Bullard, retired electronics engineer out on the front deck of my houseboat again. Oh, it's a hot day. I'm probably going to go swimming today. I got a couple of things I want to talk about. I've been hassling those people over at Stack Overflow, and I'm doing a troll. I'm being a troll. Totally true. I threw this up there as a challenge, and then I walked away. I'm not going back. So I told them about something I've done it a number of times. I've talked to you guys about it a number of times. I took a sine wave and I clipped off the top and bottom at reciprocal angles so that it would be totally symmetrical, meaning that there's no even harmonics. And if you look at the Bullard plot here, there's no even harmonics. Everything in red is flat. So there's no even harmonics. Then I do the FFT on it in Excel, and then I multiply each harmonic by 2, by 4, by 8, by 16, or by -2, -4, -8, -16. And then I plot those, and I get this really beautiful picture. The minus number is a problem because if you think about it, what I have to do is I have to take the square root of whatever the number is. But I can't take the square root of -2. That ain't going to work. So I take the square root of 2 and take, if there is a minus sign on there, I apply a minus. And you can look at my code. I apply a minus to one of the terms in the complex data because you can't take the square root of a -2. You just can't do it. Anyway, I get this beautiful, beautiful picture. Now I clip the sine wave at 73.73159,173 degrees. And of course, the clipping ended at 106.2684083 degrees. And at the opposite side, at the negative side, it clipped at 253.73159,173 degrees, and the clipping ended on the negative side at 286.2684083 degrees. Now, if you do that perfectly, you get no even harmonic. And then here's a close-up of what I got. The highest positive peak, you can see that going way high, and the cool thing about that is that it comes from a very low place. The one that goes very negative starts at a very high place. Why is that? Law 1. You know, I've talked about this before. So I prove Law 1 and Law 2. And Law 2 is, look at the angles. 73.73159,173 degrees on the front of it. So all of the distortions start exactly at 73.73159,173 degrees on the positive peak, and they end at 106.2684083 degrees. All of them. So that's where I distort the sine wave, and so the harmonic signature, nothing else, the harmonic signature controls the angle. So that's pretty cool. And for the negative side, you know, it's what I told you before, so it looks the same way. So what I did was I posted that on Stack Overflow, and I explained every step, every single step. And you know, I've done this before. So the cool thing is that it's just doing an inverse FFT on the thing that I manipulated in complex form. And like I said, I'm no math whiz, you know, but I can handle complex math. It's really not a big deal because I know what I'm supposed to get. I've been doing this a long time, since the 1990s, okay? Okay, so what this does is, this is magic. To those people who think that harmonics are magic, and I looked again on the web today, everybody believes harmonics are magic. And I mean, it's terrible. It's really terrible. If you search the web, search for YouTube, you'll find one of my videos. If you go way, way down, search YouTube for harmonics, one of my videos, way down. Look at that. And you'll find it. That's the Applicos video that I made for them, where I talked about total harmonic distortion. They think total harmonic distortion is such a great thing. Oh boy, I can take the square root of the sum of squares. I'm a fucking genius. No, you're not a genius. You're not a genius until you can do what I've done. You may remember that Tony says, oh, you have no merit to create laws of physics. Well, let me quote Arthur C. Clarke. Arthur C. Clarke came up with 3 laws of something. And the third law, any sufficiently advanced technology is indistinguishable from magic. And that is true. Now, I wouldn't say that's a law of physics, but it's true. If you look at these things, and I show you this stuff, and you go, oh my God, that's magic. No, it's not magic. It's a law of, it's 2 laws of physics. 2 laws of physics are proven right here. Now, why does the area remain the same all the time? Because I never let the fundamental change. The fundamental always remains the same. So the area between 0 and the positive peak and 0 and the negative peak must remain the same, because the fundamental never changed the amplitude. All kinds of crazy things can happen to the wave because I've changed the harmonics, but I never changed the amplitude of the fundamental. So the area must remain the same, and I've been through that a million times. So area, law 1, angle, law 2, period. Okay. Oh, by the way, when I went to Stack Overflow, the last thing I did was I changed my avatar. It's a trap, and so they can answer all they want. They'll make stuff up. They'll question me. I just ignore them. I'm not going to deal with them anymore. They're idiots. So it's a trap. You cannot explain this without using Law 1 and Law 2 of my laws of physics. Oh, I wanted to mention this. When I was working at Tektronix, let me tell you, I had a relationship with Melanie, which was great. Now, Melanie was the gal who was in charge of all the people in the test group over at Tektronix. And everybody was so afraid of Melanie. And the guy that I worked with, Brian Brokaw, he was extremely upset with Melanie. He hated Melanie's guts. I mean, he hated Melanie's guts. Now, I had worked in the Asian apps department, which meant that I was Asian. Well, my eyes are kind of like that. That's what Tony says. But I worked in the Asian apps department, so I knew how to deal with Asian people. And Melanie was Asian. She's Chinese. Melanie worked at NASA, so she knew about the space shuttle. In fact, she actually sat in the space shuttle on the pad. Really cool. But I got to have a great relationship with Melanie. And Brian he hated her guts. He was terrible to her. And Melanie was a good friend of mine, a really good friend. And so it really got to the point where my wife was getting a little bit jealous of Melanie, which was hilarious because I wouldn't cheat on my wife, period. But me and Melanie had a great relationship. Well, when Melanie was at Tektronix, she had to work in the building at Tektronix, and I would go in at the front door and wait for her to arrive, and sometimes I would be like an hour early, and I would just sit in the front lobby and wait for her. But eventually when Melanie came in, she would come in and, we'd all have to work on the test floor, but Melanie doesn't do that. She doesn't work on the test floor. So I gave her an office. And there was a conference room not too far from our offices. So I gave her the conference room. And I called it, here it is, Melanie's Manor. I made up a sign and stuck it on the door and everything. So that people wouldn't go in there and have a meeting while Melanie was in there working. It was Melanie's Manor. And so anytime Melanie came, she got Melanie's Manor. That was the place where she would work, and I would go in there and talk to her. And I did some fun things. I mean, she would order lunch for me and everything, and oh my God, she was great. I loved Melanie. We had a great time. We went on 2 cruises on the Columbia one on the Columbia River actually, and one on the Willamette. And the Portland Spirit and a stern wheeler up there. We had a great time. Melanie was super sweet. I love Melanie. But I didn't love Melanie that way, April. Okay, one more thing. Here's my badge. I went to a lot of shows, and I saved a lot of my badges from the shows that I went to. And here's my badge from Semicon West 2000. And that was Dan Bullard, Credence Systems, Fremont, California. That was in San Jose. So I left those people at Stack Overflow with something to puzzle over. They don't understand anything about electronics. Nothing. They're complete fucking morons. And I'm not going to hassle them about it. I'm just going to leave them be. And they can go off. I mean, maybe they'll learn something. Maybe they'll go look for the Bullard laws of harmonics. Maybe they'll figure it out. But, you know, you're on the leading edge. You are on the leading edge. You are privy to something that's a huge benefit to mankind through science. Maybe it'll happen, maybe it'll go through, maybe it'll be adopted, maybe not. Maybe Tony's right. Maybe nobody cares, nobody will ever see it. I think YouTube's doing something about that, trying to keep me from getting out there. I think Twitter, Facebook, all of them. LinkedIn is not. So far, LinkedIn is not. So, I don't know. Maybe they will. I mean, they gave me a warning today about something I was going to post. Somebody was bragging about how great China is. I've been to China. I've been to Beijing and Shanghai. The guy in Shanghai. We tried compiling test programs that I brought on the tester at Shanghai, and guess what? It wouldn't compile. Why? Because the guy in charge of the system lost the compiler license. He deleted it. Can you imagine? I mean, somebody gives you a goddamn Unix box. You go off. I mean, it's a big box. It's huge. It's freaking huge. Somebody gives you a Unix box. You go in and you start fucking around with it, right? Would the first thing that you do be to go off and find the compiler license and delete it? I don't think so. But that's what he did. And because there weren't any telephones in the main building, I had to go to another building, put in a request to make a phone call to the States and talk to the tech support guy to figure out what happened to the compiler license, where I could get a copy, and they found a way to get me a copy, so I was able to get it back up and running. It was like, oh my God, deleted the compiler license. That's awful. Somebody going down, somebody going by. See ya. Okay. It's Dan Bullard on the river. I'll see ya.